Good afternoon, Shannon Proverbs. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine, Sean. So good to see you.
You too. You too. You got your J's on today?
Nah, you know what? I've just got the socks on today. I'm at the home. I'm in the war room at home.
In the
So
war room.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought about I didn't want to embarrass myself though. I was gonna bring my a couple pair of Jordans down, but I'm like, that's probably all I got. And then Shannon will go to her closet, especially made for her Jordans, and put me to shame today. So I didn't want to do that. But thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna start off with a quick story, and then we'll get into this. All right.
all right.
So I'm not sure if I told you this, but a couple months ago, a mentor of mine, a really good friend, he's on the board of the what is it, Boys and Girls Club
Okay.
of Greater Washington. And so one of the initiatives is for the board members to actually mentor a kid and take them through a sort of a 6 week program and raise money. And it's called Great Big Kid. So my friend did this, and he got a 10-year-old kid. And with this 10-year-old, he had an amazing program set up for him. Like the kid likes soccer, so took him to a college soccer game. Really good program too, as well. Took him to a professional football game. I think Sweet Life. Uh, he had my man. What else did he do? He did a bunch of stuff. He also had a one-on-one session with me for financial education, which was pretty cool. And so it's been something that I've been talking a lot about lately because during that time frame, he learned how to buy a house. So the whole situation was the 7 steps to home ownership. And so his name's Brandon, and it's public, so I'm going to say his name. And um, Brandon learned how to buy a house that day. And so we talked about income, assets, and credit. And so uh, his big goal in life was to own like this the sports park, like how you have like the soccer fields and lacrosse fields and swimming pools and just all these this just big sports complex. And so um, that was his income. He's self-employed, and so we were sitting in my office, and he's like, you know, uh, is this a place where I can operate my business and this and that? And I'm like, yeah, you got it. And I said, well, we got your income covered. How about assets? Like, and he's like, well, what's that? And I'm like explaining to him, like, you have to have money and, put money in the bank and things like that. Well, how am I going to prove I have the money? And we talked about bank statements and such. And he's like, well, I haven't put my money in the bank, but I have some money. And I'm like, really? It's like, how much money you got? He's like, I think like $70. So he's 10 and he goes into his wallet, he pulls the $70 out, and I'm like, all right, cool. We got some assets here. And so we start talking about credit. And Shannon, you know what? Little Brandon had perfect credit. You know why?
Why?
Every single time he borrows a pencil at school from his teacher, he always gives it back. Every single time. So, hey, well, he had it all covered. So we went through the entire process, and where I'm going with the story is we really talked and honed in quite a bit on wants versus needs, because in his situation, he's like, he wanted to have a 5 bedroom house. He wanted 5 bathrooms that came with that house. He had all kinds of things on his wish list. A game room that's separate from his TV room. He wanted an outdoor maze with the, driveway with a soccer net and goal in there. And he's like, he wanted that because his neighborhood was noisy, his street was noisy, and he wanted everybody in his house to have their own room, right? And I thought that was amazing. I'd run through a wall for anybody, but especially in a situation like that. So we put him up on the internet to do a little window shopping, and he put in his attributes with the 5 bedrooms and the 5 bath, and based on his budget, based on the amount of money that he had saved and all that stuff, right? There was no way that he was going to find a place. I think we used $350,000 as a qualification, right? There were no houses that came up. So then we took his wants and turned them into needs and such, and then we dwindled it down. And so at the end of the time, he was able to buy $150,000 condo and live well within his means. He was able to save some money as well, and it was just a really really good experience. And so I'm always trying to find a story to open this up with. But during these times that we're in right now, with the turbulent times, as we always know, number one, it boils down to relationships, right? So at the end of the day, the mindset is important. I think education is something that we in our industry right now need to just double down on and give consumers the right information, as much information as they can handle, right, to be able to make the very best and most informed decision in the strategy. And so that strategy I'm thinking about is the wants versus needs, because there will be an opportunity. Affordability is a little tough these days, right? But I think in many cases, if we kind of dissect and identify and look at affordability over a qualification, I think that is super important. And the reason that I said relationships are important is because there's so much information out here. You got to know who to trust, right? And you have to know where you're getting the information, if it's solid or not. And so, with that said, today I just wanted to open up and tell you my quick story about little 10-year-old Brandon that touched my life a couple months ago, and it was a really good experience. And just open up the fact that we as adults are not much different than the way the kids think about things. And when you break it down in that way, we're able to make really good decisions. And so, with that said, everybody, Shannon Proverbs, tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Absolutely love that story. I always tell people if they want to get some good advice, ask a child, because they'll give you the most honest, innocent answer, and it's a simplified answer, but you can take the context and really apply it to your life. So I always tell people that I love talking to children just for that reason. But anyways, well, thank you for having me. My name is Shannon Proverbs, and I am an account executive here at Home Point. I've been at Home Point for a couple of years now. I've been in origination since 2012. I started in reverse. That's a hilarious story. I got out the industry and came back in around 2016, and I've kind of hovered in ever since. And so I started off doing retail originations and then moved over into the wholesale side within the last few months right now. So I'm still learning a whole lot. But the one thing that I will say is that I've really learned the importance of relationships and understanding people's needs and their wants and their pain points. So I am very grateful for you to have me on this show, for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So what tell us about that. So you don't have to go into the reverse mortgage thing. That's probably, like you said, that's a whole nother story. But like you've gotten into this wholesale world, like based on your retail experience and some of the things that you're doing now, what's different? Like what's different for you?
Man, so much is different. I mean, there's just the world of wholesale lending, and even the world for a broker, and just seeing the world through your eyes as a broker is just incredible to me. I mean, just everything from the products that you're able to provide your clients to even just overlays and guidelines. I feel like you have so much more leeway than we did in the retail space. And I think the most incredible thing about the wholesale aspect of mortgage lending is that you have such an intimate relationship with your borrower, and that you're able to infiltrate communities that typically would be kind of intimidated or afraid to call a big box, retail lender. And there's a lot of things we couldn't do for the borrower that you guys can do. So I think what's different for me is like I've really had to go back and really look at the guidelines and see, oh wow, the things that we couldn't do, they can do. And every time I hear a conversation, especially when I'm shadowing one of our senior execs, I pick up little things, that I would never ever even try with a borrower if I was still in the retail space. So I think just what's different is the incredible amount of freedom and creativity you have to service your clients. I mean, it's no better time to be a broker right now. No better time. So
Sounds good. Sounds good. And so, what are some of the things that when you're out visiting brokers, that we're talking about? Like, because we're talking about, how to or strategies to survive and thrive during these turbulent mortgage markets. And, I like to remain as positive as I possibly can, because
right.
at the end of the day, We're in it to solve problems,
Mhm.
right? And it is a problem that we have right now. And rates are higher, but the reason it's a big deal is because we're saying it's a big deal, right?
Right.
And so I talk about it quite a bit. Like, I don't think anybody should overpay, and I think every consumer should get the very best deal. But those rates are where they are, and
Mhm.
I think we should, be focused on the affordability piece, which it isn't so affordable, but it's got to be affordable for you. So you really have to think about like where you are and what your comfortable payment is, what that max payment looks like for you, and then we try to fit you into a home that fits that. But I think that's really where it starts. And so my question to you is, with the higher interest rate environment and things of that nature, like what are you talking to brokers about? Like what are you hearing, or just clients in general, or people in general? What are you hearing out there?
Where the bulk of my education comes from, is from the brokers, man. Like you guys, when we talk shop or even just talk in general about life, I hear, so many different things. But what I will say is that, the mortgage industry is just, it's a war of attrition. It's basically like trench warfare. Like you're going to have brokers that are going to, they're going to see the positives about the market and they're going to thrive. And then you've got the ones that are going to, continue to wrap their circumstances around their business, personal circumstances, and then shrink, right? So you got to just kind of choose what side you want to be on and what outlook you want to have. I mean, we do have a high rate environment, but if we look at history and the past, people adjust. It's just, this is a unique time, right? We went from like unheard of low interest rates to now, higher rates, which aren't even past the historically high rates that we've had yet. So people just need time to adjust, right? And like you said, it's the wants versus needs. So what I'm saying with that is, when I talk to brokers, they just have to have canned conversations with their realtors. They have to tighten up their relationships with their former clients, with their prospective clients, and just have canned conversations and honest conversations. Like, look, you may not get the property or qualify for the property that you want, but get into something now and build your equity. So that way later on you can either refinance, or you can sell the property and move up. I come from an immigrant family, right? I got my mom's from the Philippines, dad's from Trinidad. They both served this country. One did 10 years, one did 20. And I remember, you know, and they've always owned a home, but we started, in this small little house that got broken into a couple times, and then moved into something better. And then a few years later, moved into something better. And then now they live, in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in San Jose, California. So, but that's what the story I would always tell people. Like, listen, and even me with my first home, like I didn't live in the most desirable part of Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex. I lived way in the middle of Garland, Texas. Not a bad neighborhood, but nobody wanted to come visit because it was just so inconvenient to go visit. But I did the same thing when the market turned in the last couple of years. I sold the house and bought a new construction, and people come over all the time. So it's just, sometimes you just have to get in where you fit in. Like my first property was 180. You can't find that now, but if you find like a condo or one, even if it's a one bedroom condo, if it depends on your family, of course, and but if you can just find something and just get into it and just sit on it for a little bit, you can always find ways to improve your circumstance later. Or if your rate's high, just once the rates turn or when they decrease, you can always refi. People refi every 3 to 5 years sometimes. So I always tell people, just have that conversation with your clients. Like, let them know that it's not your forever home. Every buyer that gets into the home thinks they're going to be there for 50 years. And it never happens, right? The only thing constant in life is change. And same thing with brokers. I hear a lot of the ones that are doing well are the ones that know how to collaborate effectively with realtors, or, know how to do the things that you do and create a platform and a brand. Gone are the days now where you can just sit behind and hope that the faucet's going to turn on and that the business is going to come to you. You got to put yourself out there. You got to make a name for yourself. Social media, I tell people I'm always on LinkedIn. That's just my medium of choice. But, you know, I, especially as a new account executive, and in a high rate environment that we're in, right, in a highly competitive market, the wholesale space right now is absolutely trench warfare. We've got two of the biggest wholesale lenders right now going toe to toe. So in those environments, I have to sell something else, right? So the only thing you can sell is you, right? People don't go to you because of the products that you have or the lending stuff that you sell. They go to you because they trust you, they like you, they want to do business with you. And that's so important with our industry and for what we do, because it's a painful process, right? Buying a house, refinancing. Unfortunately, until we can get fintech to make that a little bit better for us, it's still a painful process. So they got to know that you're there for them to support them emotionally through this process, right? And I'm not going to do that with everybody. So, but they will do that with you. So what I do is I always try to make sure that I have some visibility online, because that's kind of creates the funnel, to get at least a few clients, or at least increase your network, so that people know who you are as a person. Like, they know your personality. Most of the time when people buy things from you, they don't buy, what it is that you're selling. They buy you. They like you. So I always tell people that too. Um, and then, just check out different markets. I don't know if you're in a big market, if you're like in a metropolitan area that's, especially if you're in a state that doesn't have state income taxes, or if you're in a place that's seeing a lot of growth, or you had at one point had affordable houses and now they're going up, chances are you've got transplants. So you've got to recognize that people are coming in from different states. I always tell people, look at your local business journals, see what companies and corporations are coming in, and see if they have transplants. I always tell people, look at that, look at underserved communities. Everybody got really used to like the low hanging fruit, right? The middle-aged borrower with the 750 credit score and had a bunch of money in the bank. Those, you're probably not going to get that, but you will get people who, are divorced. They need to move. That came from California, New York, came to another city because they affordability issues, underserved communities, Black, Hispanic, Asian borrowers who don't know they can afford a house, right? They just need they're more high touch, but you just need to, see if you can infiltrate that market. So I just tell people, look for key segments of the market that, you haven't really thought of going to, or haven't spent that time going to because you were so busy during the boom, right? And revisit your relationships, just people you've done refis for, people that you sold homes to, pay them a visit. Don't go there looking for business. Just say hello. How are you?
Right.
How's your kids? So
Right.
those are things that I recommend.
That's a lot. So we're gonna unpack. We're gonna unpack this.
Go for
So
it.
I forgot to mention too. This is called. I was so excited to talk about Jordans and 10-year-old Brandon that I forgot to do the intro. Lending with purpose. Shannon, these are client conversations that we have with clients and friends. Intros to various forms of information and professionals like yourself. Resources that we use, that we look for, that we never knew existed or wanted to learn more about. So. You're talking. We we're gonna unpack all this, and that was great information. That was a lot of really good information and stuff that we should be focused on, so that we can help more people, because that's the goal: is help as many people as you possibly can.
Really.
And so we're talking about successful brokers, right? So those brokers that you've seen and worked with, um, are they implementing these things? Like, what does it look like to have a good online strategy? What does it look like to collaborate with realtors, right? And also, like, in regards to social media, like, give me a tip that maybe you've given to someone who maybe doesn't necessarily have a presence on social media, doesn't know how to, or doesn't even think that they want to be there. So number one, well, I think that goes into the online strategy. So number one, let's talk about the online strategy.
Sure. So, you just gotta figure out who your client is. I have friends that are like young realtors. So, most of their clients are probably like, on the younger side of the millennials and maybe the older side of Gen Y, or looking to buy a home. So they love Instagram or TikTok. You just find your platform, figure out who your target is. I love LinkedIn. What I tell people is just start with things that you know. Or just, if you had a successful closing, or if you had a successful experience with a client, talk about that, right? Maybe invest in even you don't even have to spend that much money, but take some good pictures, show people who you are, right? And I know people are afraid of that, because we've got people at my company who are afraid of the camera too, but I'm saying people want to see everyday people. They want to know who they're talking to, right? They don't need to see, a supermodel, or a men's fitness model. They just need to know that you're real. So I just tell people, just get on there and say, hey, I closed this loan and today's a great day, or share just share anything about you. Like what's your motivational uh, quote of the day. Anything really that's positive or inspiring or informative. Just put it on. Make a post. And I always tell people, be consistent. Try to start with like maybe one or two a week, and you'll be surprised. People are always watching. They watch everything you do, right?
Right, right,
So,
right.
and it
That's
works.
how we met.
Hmm.
We I complimented your sneakers. We were at a conference, and we were standing around waiting to speak with someone. And I looked down, and I saw your sneakers, and I'm like, wow, those are nice. Like, that's really cool. Like, I was like, you're a sneakerhead, and we started talking about it more, and then we got into the talking about business a bit. And then
Hmm.
we connected, and we talked more shop, and here we are today. And so if you weren't as authentic as you were I mean, you look nice, like you were dressed appropriately, but you just had sneakers on, right? But if you wouldn't have been your authentic self, maybe chances are I wouldn't have complimented you on your shoes and never gotten a chance to really meet you and get to know you. And so, absolutely, I agree with that piece on the with the online strategy. What's it look like to collaborate with realtors? Like, what are your thoughts on that, and some things that you're talking to brokers about?
Yeah, so a lot of the ones that I talk to, they have really good relationships with their realtors or they're courting them. And it's funny you mentioned authenticity because when I do go to any conferences, matter of fact, we had an event for NAMBA. Shout out to NAMBA, your Dallas chapter. I wear my sneakers, right? Because that's trademark for me. So sometimes wearing something or doing something that's unique, that always helps to get people to talk to you, conversation piece. But anyways, with the successful brokers, they tend to have really good relationships with their realtors. They collaborate as far as like throwing events, or they'll have podcast shows just like this, or they'll just do, the holidays are coming up. They'll work together, maybe have a holiday party to draw people in, in their city, or they'll do articles, just finding ways to kind of grow your audience, right? And like create an environment of networking because you're going to have to network really heavy in these times, right?
That's
You're gonna
right.
have to build these relationships, find new relationships, right? You can't sit at home, behind your computer, pounding the phones all day long, and hoping to find something. You got to really get out there, and you'll be surprised. People come out. Like we had our meeting for the fourth quarter mixer for NAMBA. We didn't think a whole lot of brokers and realtors would come out, but people were bored, man. We had like double the attendance, and they're like, yeah, I've been in the house for the last 3 years. This is great, and I was just like, so those things work. I would just say, strategize with your realtors to see how you guys can bring your clients together, and help each other. So that's always great. If they have access to open houses, or if you know somebody who has a venue, and plug the venue. Somebody that owns a restaurant. Hey, can we have this event here? We'll promote your products. Give us a room. A lot of them will be like, heck yeah, I need business. Pandemic was tough. So, find a way to help your community, but and help yourselves, but collaborate with people. Everybody wants to support each other right now because it's tough for
Thank
everybody.
you.
You know.
No, yeah, that's those are gems. So everybody, be sure that you write this stuff down and get the replay because Shannon's giving us some really great information, especially in regards to collaborating and getting your clients where you are and being where they are. So another piece, like you talked about community, and earlier on you talked about underserved. You also mentioned NAMBA as well, which is a great organization. We've been affiliated with it forever since the inception. But let's talk about that. Like you mentioned helping underserved communities. Like, how do you feel that there are ways to help underserved communities? Why is it important to do so?
Well, I'm pretty sure you've heard this conversation circling around, but there is a wealth gap in America, right? And that wealth gap hits all communities, but it hits underserved communities, minority communities harder, right? We all know that the middle class is shrinking. And so we have to find a way to build wealth and do that expeditiously so that, people don't end up in poverty in the years to come. And so most people in America, they build their wealth through home ownership, property. So that's why it's really important for people in the housing industry to really recognize that. And there are a few large lenders that are starting to realize how important that is as well. Because during the refinance and the housing boom, people were just kind of focused on the immediate borrowers, right? The borrowers that didn't need a whole lot of legwork, they're just ready to go. But that left out a lot of people in our community. Whether it's a Black community, Hispanic, Asian communities, there's a lot of people in those communities that don't know that they can qualify for a home, right? They don't know how to go about the process, and they just give up, right? So it's more important than ever that we find a way to reach those communities. And I love organizations like NAM, but any housing industry trade organization, I always feel like during times like this is very important to lean on, because as a professional, you're going to need some emotional support and some professional support, right? It's tough, and it's one thing to do this by yourself, but when you don't feel like you're on an island by yourself, you tend to do a little bit better. So it's always good to really connect with other professionals just like you. We're not competitors right now. We're all trying to survive together. So, definitely do that. But yeah, it's definitely important for realtors, for lenders, big lenders, wholesale lenders, for us to start paying attention to these communities, because one thing that NAMBA was able to do is to research the statistics for our community. That's a $300 billion industry, right? For to service these people in these communities, but they are a little bit more high touch. So one thing I am proud of is that Home Point has realized that and have decided to join that fight. And so we are collaborating with an organization called SAWA, and we're piloting a program that's going to be able to help educate borrowers and get them 1003 ready in these communities, and then really lean on the community capacity to do that. So we are in the early stages of that. You have a chance, you can go check out sawa.money. Charles Phillips is the CEO for that. I've been working with him very closely. He's a good mentor of mine. I'm really hoping that he'll be one of my next mentors. He's just a brilliant person. But I really believe that. I really believe that if we find a way to get people educated and spend the time and the efforts to really help people get through the housing process and build that trust in that community, that we'll be able to join that fight on the front lines to close the wealth gap.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. I was speaking to someone about that the other day. They were asking, if it's harder for certain communities to get mortgages. And so I said that, based on what I've read, some of the things that I've seen, yes, in some cases, but for selfish reasons, like when they come to us, not really. And it's specifically because they're ready, because they're educated, and like you mentioned, it's 1003 ready, because lots of times we throw this jargon and these acronyms out, and folks don't quite understand it, right? There's a lot of fear, there's some uncertainty in communities to even know if you qualify, just based on some systemic things that have happened in the past, right? And so like you mentioned, folks that just really don't understand and know that they're actually really there. And so if you can weave through all of that, and you can sort of be the translator, for lack of a better word, to help them get to that point, that's where the success comes in. I think it's really about helping people become or be successful in this journey is what allows us to help more people. And obviously financially, we need to get access to capital, to money. Um, but I wrote down 1003 ready, and I put 3 exclamation points beside it, because I really feel like that's huge. It's really key to help you navigate through this system, because at the end of the day, the information that's being put on the 1003, we need to document it. As long as we document it and you meet the guidelines, you should be able to get a mortgage, right?
In theory, yes. But again, it's also on lenders and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all the GSEs to understand that as well, because the trust is so fragile in these communities, right?
Yep.
There's times when they are 1003 ready, but something in the chain happens, right? Where the file doesn't go through, or the loan can't close, and then the trust is broken. And then those people never apply again. They never try again.
Yeah.
So we have to get to a point where the lenders have to take on the responsibility of making the process easier with processing, underwriting, closing, you know, And we need to spend the time on the front lines to really educate and have real conversations about what they can actually do and how the process is going to go. And we have to hold their hand. But
Hmm.
until we can all get to a point where we can get the communities to trust us so we can do right by them and commit to getting them into a home, without putting them through a gauntlet where we beat them to death until they're the point where, okay, they're ready to close and then we can't because something gets thrown into underwriting and then now they can't do it, then we're going to have a problem. So that's what we're trying to solve, and
Yeah, and that's a part of the education too, is so that we don't get there, so that we get the proper documents in the file, so that we source and season our money properly. All
mm-hmm,
the pitfalls that we go through, those are pitfalls because no one knows about it,
mm-hmm,
right? And no one knows that, if we're going to be buying a house next year, that we need to be starting to get ready for this like today,
mm-hmm,
right? We don't wait until the month before because some lender tells you it's going to take you 30 days to close,
mm-hmm.
right? So you don't wait 30 days before you're going to buy to get ready. You start to get ready now, and then when
Correct.
your time comes, that's when you're prepared, more prepared. And so I think that's you're absolutely right. I think you were on my phone call last week. I was speaking to someone that was from a magazine that was asking a bunch of questions about home ownership, and we had a candid conversation about this, and I was speaking some of the same language as yourself. So no, that's awesome. Shannon, do you have any? Uh, so two more questions, and I'm going to let you go
Sure.
and go back and take over the world. Uh,
Try.
uh, what are you excited about right now, and then do you have any fears?
Oh, I'm scared to death every day, just like everybody else, right?
Do it afraid, right?
Yeah, but you got to keep pushing. What you gonna do? You gonna sit in the corner and cry about it? You can't do that
Yeah.
because I think I was reading a book by Damon John, and it said he said that his mother would always tell him, you know, the time's gonna pass you anyway, so you might as well just do it, get going, right? And so I think about that all the time. It's like the time's gonna pass you anyway, so you might as well just go out there and do what you're supposed to do. I don't know what's gonna happen, right? I don't know if I'm gonna be successful in my role. I don't know when's the next time we're gonna have a windfall with some money. Everyone, I mean, it's tight. Finances are tight everywhere, right? For everybody. But what I do know is that if I can continue to focus on something that's bigger than me, right? And not just focus on my immediate circumstances, like if I can focus on a bigger purpose, then I'll be okay. You'll be okay, right? So, you know, I think my biggest fear is to let noise and let negative things infiltrate my mind. Like the rates. Okay, yes, we know the rates are high, right? We know this. We know that there's a disruption in the housing industry. We get that, but you're stronger than that. You've gotten through this. This is something that happens all the time. Rates go up, rates come down. Rates go up, rates come down. It's a weird situation now, but we'll get through it. So it'll be fine. And then what I'm excited about is during times like this is when great things happen. I think more millionaires than ever was made during the Great Recession, right? There's so many opportunities right now. I mean, people who were lining up for an old rickety house have it, the way has been cleared for them, right? So you're not having the bidding wars anymore. And people are still going to buy. They don't care if what the rate is. Now they want the houses because they're available now. So I'm just saying that during times like this is your golden opportunity for you to build something big. It's slow right now, so do all the things that you were thinking of doing to get ahead. So by the time the wave comes again, you're ready to go. That's what I'm doing. Like, let me build this platform. I don't have a whole lot of accounts. I don't have a whole lot of clients right now. Let me build a platform. Let me set the stage, right? Let me build the relationships. Build the brand, do all these projects, get involved in the community, get involved with my trade organizations. So that way, when things get better and the rates fall and the housing market becomes healthy again, I'll be great, right? A lot of people do that during times like this. They prepare. So I'm excited because, I can build this. I'm the third pig in Three Little Pigs. I'll build the thing out of brick, and when it's done, nobody can blow it over. So, that's what I'm excited about. I'm always excited about that, just what can come, you know.
That's pretty cool. I guess if you had a mic, you just drop it, right? Um, no, that's really good stuff. And the beauty of it as well is every day. We're fighting to try to find products. We're fighting to try to help people find that affordability to be able to get into these homes, because they are going to have an opportunity at some
Yeah.
point to be in better situations. So no, thanks for that. Like, how can we help you? And also, how do we connect with you? And then I'll ask my last question and we'll be out of here. So how what can we do to help you? And also tell us how to connect with you.
Oh, absolutely. So, again, I work for Home Point. I'm an account executive. If you haven't signed up with us, or if you are especially if you're in the Florida area, or if you're out here in Dallas, Texas, or anywhere, actually, I should just say this. But if you haven't given us a shot, or if I haven't talked to you and you're one of our brokers, give me a shout. You can always email me at sproverbs at hpfc.com. You can always give me a call. I'm on LinkedIn. You can just search my name, and all my contact information is there. I do have a website, shannonproverbs.com, and so you can always find me that way. I'm all over LinkedIn, so you can find me there, and I'm always out and about in the community if I can get out. And we just had a conversation about affordable homes too. It was funny because I'm starting to see a lot of like manufactured and mobile homes, purchases pop up. So I don't know if anybody likes looking into those, but I think people are looking at those too. I just wanted to throw that out there. But
Got it. In my market, we don't see them that much.
yeah,
Not that often.
yeah, it depends on where you are, I guess. But
Yeah.
people, they're looking at that too lately. They're just trying to get anything at this point, that they can afford. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's awesome. And so here we go. Did you think about it? You get a
I
chance to do that yet?
did. I
You
did.
did?
And,
All
the
right.
whole time I've been thinking about it too, but I think
So you get one person, you get one question. Who would it be and what would you ask?
oh God. So you know what? I've always read a lot of books. She had a really good book. I think it's If You Don't Have Big Boobs, Wear Pigtails in Your Hair or something is the name of the book. It's by Barbara Corcoran, right? The lady who owns the Corcoran Group. She's on Shark Tank, right? And I guess I've always loved her because this is a lady who is so resilient. She became the queen of real estate in New York City, but she did it, and everything and everyone was so adversarial to her. Like it was like she just kept running into walls, and she kept going. She's like, if you don't, and the premise of the book is like, just use what you have. If you don't have what you need, put the pigtails in your hair. Like just do something else. Be creative is what this is the premise of the book. So I guess what I would ask her is, during like what were some of the thoughts that were going through her head, and like what are some of the things that you would tell yourself when you just felt like you were just being painted into a wall? Because it looks like you've seen everything in your industry, but like how do you just keep going when you just keep seeing all the doors slam? Like what is it that you do? And I know whatever answer she would give me, it would be hilarious, but it would be useful. So but that's the person that comes to mind because I just reread that book the other day. So I was just like, okay.
That's really cool. Like we haven't gotten Barbara yet, but she's feisty. She's definitely fiery. She's uh been in the mix and at odds with a lot of people in New York to make her way. Pretty cool story.
Yeah,
Um,
she's tough
yeah,
like
she's been
that.
through a ton of adversity, a ton of it. Um, so no, thanks for that. And so Shannon, thank you for being here today. Like these conversations are always really amazing. Like I always say, it would be such a shame to have friends and relationships like Shannon and not share them with the network. Everybody, if there's anything that we can do in any way to help you, please ask.
Yeah, of course.
Continue to remain as safe and as healthy as possible. And we will be back here next week. And so, Shannon, I'll ask you to hang on with me, after I close this out for a couple more minutes. And, but thank you for your time today. Really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for thinking about me. I am eternally grateful for you to give me this platform. And I'm just so honored I got to speak to your audience. And I'm just so, so grateful for your friendship. You're an incredible person. Truly.
Thanks. You tell me anything, but thank you.
No, I swear. You that friend. So, but you know what? I gotta get a new pair of shoes, man. I'm